All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, folks, to the FF Face-Off, part of the Face-Off Sports Network. And today we are talking about our wild card weekend predictions. We're going to go through each game. Some of us will pick a side. The others will chime in. We'll ultimately make picks on the game. We'll have a good time doing it. Maybe if anybody has any betting content, any props, we can sprinkle those in along the way. Something for you guys to look forward to. Feel free, by the way, of course, as always, fffaceoff.com for all of your fantasy football, NFL sports betting needs. The fantasy football season is over, but it does not stop. You're going to have a ton of dynasty content coming out. We're going to be doing a lot over on the YouTube as well. So while you're on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, be notified every single time we go live. I'm going to introduce myself, and then we'll go around the room. Then we'll go Pete, Anthony, Matt, Coach, Tyler, and then last but not least, we'll go Steve. That's on the order there on the screen. My name is Michael Hopp. You can follow me on X at the FF Realist. And Pete, go ahead, Pete. Tell everybody where they can follow you.
Everybody knows who I am, so
shit, my bad.
I'm saying, if you watch the show, everybody knows who I am. We don't have to do the formality. We don't have to do the formalities here, is what I'm saying. I mean, just cut the
He literally said, "I'm going to go around the room, names everybody, and then he starts picking it to everybody."
Right. I mean, we don't. You can see my name
already.
Well, all right. Well, since Pete doesn't have to fucking introduce himself, I'll just get into the first game. Since Pete doesn't have to introduce himself, Mr. Hot Shit. All right, let's get into this. Oh, but Pete, you do have to speak here, though, unfortunately. Hopefully that's okay, since people know who the hell you are. Yeah, because you're up for the first game. First game of Wild Card Weekend is going to be at 4:30. These are all Eastern Standard Times, of course. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Houston Texans. This particular convo, I am going to be going with the side of the Chargers. Pete, who needs no introduction, is going to be going with the Houston Texans. So, Petey, talk to me. Can you make a case here for the Houston Texans against the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really love Houston in this game. I did draft Nico Collins in our best ball playoff draft because I was hoping for maybe a pop game. But yeah, I mean, you still have a young team. Harbaugh has done a really good job, and I mean, it just depends on what Texans team we get. I mean, the version of this team that we've seen the last few weeks has been really bad. Joe Mixon in particular was their identity for a pretty long time, and he's really slowed down. I don't know if it's old legs, a mixture of just the offensive line being really bad, or what's going on. But yeah, I mean, guys are gonna have to step up, like Dalton Schultz, and Stroud's gonna have to be careful with the football. If this Houston offensive line can protect, I can see them having a chance. But this Chargers defensive line and defense in general might eat them up. So that's my biggest worry. But if Stroud gets some time, I think they have a shot. But I would ultimately take the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, and I'm going with the Chargers. And you mentioned it with the defensive line for the Chargers, but also really just the Texans. We expected a lot more from them this year, obviously for fantasy purposes, obviously NFL purposes, but really haven't been too exciting, the Houston Texans. I think this is an easy matchup for the Chargers. I mean, right now this spread is sitting at the Chargers -2.5. I mean, I'm picking the Chargers to win, but I would take that spread without even a thought in my mind. I mean, it's pretty easy to do so, but I like it. I actually think this goes under the 42.5 too. And I think that's going to have a lot to do with the Chargers defense in particular. And the Chargers offense just won't have to do a ton. And this is typical Jim Harbaugh walking into a situation, much like he did with Stanford, with San Francisco, with Michigan, and now here with the Chargers. He comes in first year and he produces. So, yeah, give me the Chargers here on this one. Very easy. Does anybody else have any comment? Or Pete, do you have a rebuttal? Or
I was just gonna say I see the Texans on BetMGM at +3. I would take them at +3.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I'm like on DraftKings.
I know, and that's just Covers has that at the best odds. But I would I like home underdogs, especially in the playoffs. Like getting +3 for a home team, to me, I'll take that. But I think they cover. But I think ultimately the Chargers win. So Chargers would be my pick, but I think Texans cover.
Yeah, I'll still take Chargers to cover.
Yeah, I mean, everybody and their mother seems like they're on the Chargers. I think it's up to like 75% on the spread for the Chargers. So, not a lot of people picking the Texans. So, I mean, Texans are at home. I know Stroud hasn't looked himself pretty much all year. Kind of like the way their defense is playing. They got a lot of talent on defense too. The Chargers have a nice defense. Herbert is playing really good football. Dobbins is back. Quentin Johnson, we saw him go off last week. We'll see if they get Josh Palmer back this week. Will Disley's back. Ladd McConkey had a great season. So, yeah, I want to pick the Chargers. Maybe the Chargers win, but maybe somehow the Texans cover here. That's 75%. That I always kind of I get nervous about that when it's just so heavy to one side.
Does anybody else have any comments on this game?
Yeah, I'll take the Chargers here to win and cover. The Chargers, I was almost called them San Diego, Los Angeles. They are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 games, 7-3 overall on the money line, and head-to-head wise, the Chargers. It looks like they are also against the spread 5-2 in the past 7. Dating back to 2007. So this has been a very Chargers dominant head-to-head matchup when it comes to betting the points. And also, again, the Chargers 8-2 in their last 10, while Houston's 4-5-1 against their spread in their last 10 and 2-3 overall. So I think the Chargers should come out. I get it's on the road. Houston has not looked right this year. I think Stroud took a step back. Obviously, losing Diggs and losing Tank Dell does not help. But when it's all said and done, the Chargers are the better football team. And I would have given Houston a greater chance if Joe Mixon was playing the Joe Mixon football from the first 8 to 10 games. Down the stretch, Joe Mixon, I think he had one pop game, maybe against Jacksonville at one point. But he has not been the same player either. I think defenses are now stacking the box. Okay, CJ Stroud, you can try to beat us. Throwing it to Nico Collins and Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie. It's not happening.
Don't forget Dalton Schultz.
And just prayers up for the people in LA as well with those crazy fires. Do you think that affects this game and the LA players at all? Is there any chance that affects something in this game?
No, I mean, no, because this game is in Houston, but all the other game this week, I think on Monday, the Rams game, they are still planning to play it at SoFi. Now, there is a contingency just in case, but as far as it is now, that Rams game we'll talk about later is still planning on being played in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but I meant as far as the players, they might have some family. They might have to move out of their houses. You're I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe they're playing for the city, maybe a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder, stuff like that.
That's fair.
Could be a distraction. Could be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is it more of a distraction or is it more of a motivating factor? Maybe it just balances itself out.
I think with a coach as good as Harbaugh, he'll be able to turn that into more of a motivating factor. I'm sure.
Would you like Harbaugh this much if he didn't coach the 49ers?
Why do you always got to bitch about that? He's a good fucking coach. Was he good for Stanford?
Roasted.
Was Jim Harbaugh good for Stanford? Was he or no?
Yeah, it was great.
Was he good for Michigan?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Good talk.
Matt, Tyler, Coach, what do you guys? You guys have picks on this?
What the fuck you want from me? I can't help you coach there. My bad. Asshole. What do you want from me? Coach there. He was good. I'm sorry.
I like the Chargers in this game. I think Anthony hit the nail on the head. You really need Joe Mixon to play well for the Texans, and he hasn't been there the last few weeks. The Chargers are the better football team. I completely agree with that statement. They're sound all around. Harbaugh's a great coach, as Hoff is going through right now. Just all his stops, he just wins. And there's something to that. And I think it carries on in this playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Chargers they're just flat better. Like he said, CJ Stroud regressed. There's got to be a little level of concern about CJ Stroud around people in Houston right now. Especially, I was saying today, maybe Bryce Young and maybe the Panthers did make the right pick after all. That's possible. Yeah. So I just think the Chargers are better. The Chargers win the game.
All right. So
yeah,
so
I kind of
went around them. Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
I was just gonna say I kind of agree there. We've said, the Chargers are the better team. All that. I think it's something to say too. Anthony alluded to it before the stream. Was that Ladd McConkey finished as the wide receiver 12 or 13? and he was the third rookie in the top 12 this year. So he's come on. He's looked real strong. Justin Herbert's playing well. J.K. Dobbins looks like the old J.K. Dobbins. And with C.J. Stroud struggling and having all the injuries, Jim Harbaugh-led team, I'd take.
Yeah. Lad McConkey's over receptions prop is 5.5. You guys like that? It's plus 105. Well, actually, the under would be plus 105. It would be minus 110 on DK for 5.5 receptions for Lad. With the emergence of Quentin Johnson last week, what do you guys think about Quentin Johnson? Did you guys like him as a prospect coming out?
I was out on Quentin Johnson.
How
Yeah,
about you guys?
I had limited shares.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's interesting. Like everybody just kind of gave up on this guy, and he definitely was a little raw. He's definitely a great athlete. He's got the size, he's got the speed. So we'll see. I still think there's time for him to kind of turn things around. But last week was that was the best game of his career.
It just comes back to whether or not he can catch the football.
Yeah,
I mean, he has really struggled catching the football. I mean, he's got all the pieces, but for whatever reason, the dude can't catch.
Yeah, like stone hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if we're rounding this out, we're all picking the Chargers. If we're talking straight up, correct? Is that?
Yeah, I took spread +3. Anthony took -3. I don't think anybody else made.
But if we're just picking straight up,
which means that the Texans are going to win because literally nobody picked them.
I think the spread's kind of right on the money, but I would take the Chargers, and then the over/unders 42. Two good defensive teams. That's a tough one because this game could definitely. I don't want to mess with that. This game's pretty much right on the money. But yeah, I think it's a consensus Chargers pick, at least to advance past this wild card round.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then as we get ready to move on to the next game, I will just say with a win this weekend, he probably already does, but with a win this weekend, Jim Harbaugh will have more playoff wins than the Dallas Cowboys have had in the last 20 years. So with that, we'll move it on to the Saturday night game, which is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. This is a very interesting situation for the Steelers. It seems like this happens now far too much. The Steelers start the year very well. The Tomlin truthers say, here, look, this is what always happens. And then they're rolling into the playoffs on fumes, not looking so hot, going up against the Baltimore Ravens, who have been somewhat of a powerhouse, even though they are the 3 seed in this matchup. This game in particular, we're going with Tyler and Matt. Tyler, I'll go to you first. Go ahead, make a case for who you think wins this game and why.
So I'm picking the Ravens here. No surprise. They've been a juggernaut of a team all year. With Derrick Henry in the backfield, him and Lamar Jackson, we had ideas about that backfield before it ever even started. And with Lamar starting to run a little bit more, and Derrick Henry's just been on fire all year, I don't really think it's that hard to pick the game. Now, I do think it will be close. It is a divisional matchup. It's always, those defensive battles, especially when it gets in the cold weather and stuff like that. But that lends its hand to Derrick Henry and the cold weather. So I think, people are worried about Zay Flowers being out. But really, I think it'll be a show. And, you may even get a Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews appearance in there too, just out of necessity.
Matt,
Yeah,
how about you? Can you make a case for the Steelers or what?
I think there is a case for the Steelers. When we look at playoff records, let's just start with Lamar. He's 2-4. He hasn't proven that he can win the big games every single time. He's had a great year passing the ball, no denying that. Is he the MVP? We could spend an hour talking about that. But what we do know is Russ is 9-7 in the playoffs. He's won a lot of playoff games. And defense travels. The Steelers have one of the best defenses in the league. I believe they're 3rd overall if you base the statistics together. So I think there's a world where this game is closer than we think. And if it comes down to special teams, who's got the better special teams unit? The Steelers do. Boswell's on fire. Justin Tucker hasn't been there. So I think as long as the Steelers keep this game close, there's a chance for them to win it. And if we look at, like Tyler said, it's a divisional game. Steelers are 8-4 in their last 12 games against the spread. In their last 5 games against the Ravens, they're 4-1 against the spread. They're getting 9.5, I believe. So I think there's a world where you can take the Steelers with the points and maybe even take them outright. I know it's scary with the offense. It's a lot of faith in George Pickens. I mean, you need him to play well. If he doesn't play well, then this team's not going to play well.
Right.
But I think there's a world. I mean, Tomlin can coach this team. He's a good coach. We can talk about whether he's just making the playoffs and getting bounced. There's something to that. But I think Lamar's got to show it, especially this year, as much as people have defended him being the MVP or being the best player in the league, however you want to look at it. A lot rides on this game. A whole lot rides on it. And no Flowers is definitely going to be an impactful situation for him.
I mean, I'll say you've made a better case than I've heard a lot of other people make this week leading up to this weekend. I'm still going with the Ravens here. But I mean, if it winds up being a close game, you're not far off that this could be something to monitor. But I find it hard to believe the Ravens losing this week, having Derrick Henry. This is why they went out and got Derrick Henry. But granted, by their own doing in that AFC Championship when they ran the ball so few times. This is why they went out and got Derrick Henry. This is the time. So I ultimately think the Ravens win, but I think you make a great case. I will just say, if this game doesn't go right for the Steelers and if fans start to yell that Tomlin should be gone, I'll just simply say you don't know what you got till it's gone. I get it.
Right.
It's been disappointing with the early exits, but still give me the Ravens, but I don't think Tomlin should be let go just yet, but that might be a discussion for another day. Anthony, go ahead.
I think you can paint a picture where Pittsburgh not only covers, depending on what the sports book I see, Bet365, plus 10, minus 115. If you want the Steelers, that's the book you should be taking that number at. I think there's a world they cover. I think there's a world where you sprinkle on that money line and it can hit. Now, I'm still taking the Ravens, but we can't deny Lamar Jackson is 3-6 or 3-5 in his career against Pittsburgh. When it comes to the head-to-head matchups between these two teams, it has been heavily Pittsburgh dominant. Pittsburgh 8-2 in their last 10 games. Straight up. Against Baltimore, they've covered the spread 7 out of past 10. And the under is hit in 8 out of the past 10. If this game goes under, Pittsburgh wins. I don't see a world where, and one of you guys brought it up, the deficiencies of Justin Tucker could potentially cost Baltimore this game if it goes under. Now, if it becomes a shootout and Baltimore starts putting up points like we saw when these two teams played a week or so ago, then, Baltimore is going to run away with it. But if this Pittsburgh defense can step up and control Lamar Jackson, and we've seen this, here's a fun stat. Lamar Jackson has never rushed for a touchdown against Pittsburgh, and he's rushed for under 65 yards in every game he's played against them. So they've kind of limited Lamar Jackson's legs. I do think there's a case to be made. I would probably take Pittsburgh to cover the 10 if I can get it at 10 at 365. But, Baltimore should win this game.
Yeah, I think Baltimore should win. I think the spread is actually pretty close depending on how much you give a favorite for Lamar over Russ. And the way the Steelers are playing down the stretch, obviously, has been downright scary. But again, they played Philly, they played Baltimore, they played Kansas City, and they almost beat the Bengals, losing 19-17. But the way Pickens now, and it's just like kind of everything is just falling apart. But hey, now they get new life. They're still in the playoffs. They have a great history against Baltimore. They're 7-3 in the last 10. So Tomlin has the advantage over Harbaugh. Lamar Jackson, like Matt mentioned, 2 of 4 in the playoffs. He's only got 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, passing in his career, 57.4 passer rating. So, but Lamar has looked better than he's ever looked in his career passing the football this year, putting up all-time numbers. Better than last year when he won the MVP. So I expect them to win this game. I think Pittsburgh could keep it close, though. They could fight. Could they pull the upset? Definitely. But I think I would lean Pittsburgh with the points. I don't. Again, the spreads are very, very tight, and probably lean over as well. 43.5. But yeah, Baltimore should take care of business here. They've been the better team all year. Lamar's having a career season. He looks absolutely. I mean, Zay Flowers is big, but they got other weapons they could put in there. You still got Derrick Henry. Aguilar should be back from his concussion. He's a veteran. You throw Likely in there more. So yeah, Baltimore should take care of business, but Pittsburgh could cover this game.
Coach, how about you? What do you got?
Yeah, I tend to agree with everybody here. I mean, the Ravens are obviously the team. It's hard to pick against them. But if Lamar Jackson and the Ravens lost, I would not be shocked in the least. Can the Steelers stop the run, make Lamar beat them in the pocket? If that's the case, then the Steelers have a real chance to win. I mean, that's just reality. If Lamar has to stand in the pocket and beat him there, then he has not been able to do that in the playoffs successfully. So if you're Steelers and you can make them do it, then you've got a chance. And that's really it. I mean, you got to pick the Ravens, but I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't.
All right. So
let me.
I apologize. Yeah, I didn't get to you, man. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. So since week 12, the Ravens are the number one defense in total team EPA. When you look at the Steelers, last time they played against the Ravens a few weeks back, Henry had over 160 yards. I mean, the Zay Flowers thing is the biggest worry to me, but unfortunately, this is not an offense that is going to force Lamar to throw the football 30 times. Zay Flowers being out would be scary if they were going up against a more capable offense. And when you look at the Steelers defensively, since week 12, this is the 7th worst defense against the run per EPA. And defensively overall, they're 22nd in the NFL in total EPA from a defensive standpoint per play. I just don't really see. I mean, with how bad the Steelers offense has been playing and how good the Ravens defense has been playing, I don't expect. I mean, the only way I'd be worried is if somehow they got off to a slow start and the Steelers defense made some magic happen. But if Lamar's not playing from behind, I mean, I just don't see them having a chance. I think the Ravens are going to cover that spread, to be honest, too. And one thing that we talked about before, Lamar is 2-5 this year in games where he's thrown for 30 or more passes, but I don't think he's going to throw for 30 passes this game. So that's all I have to add.
Yeah, doesn't have to. All right. So I know some of us are keeping the spread in mind, but just outright winner, we're all going Ravens, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which means the Steelers are going to upset.
Nobody's got the balls to pick the Pittsburgh, huh?
Sure don't. I'll make the case,
sure don't. Yeah, I mean, you made a good case. You did make a good case. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see it.
He is a lawyer. He is a lawyer. That's what he does.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. All right. I'll allow it.
I'll be calling you in case I need you.
There you go.
Hey,
yeah.
let me know your guy.
Steve's got some sketchy shit though. The pork chops and then the cannolis and the car and all that stuff.
I promise, Hop, you can't scare me. You can't scare me.
Well, okay.
I just watched Juror number 2. Did you see that, Matt?
I did.
Clint
I
Eastwood
saw
movie?
that.
Good movie, right?
I haven't watched it, but I've been told to watch it.
Yeah,
it's good shit, man. Good shit. Yeah, that's on Max. There's our little
your best true rendition of the law is My Cousin Vinny.
Oh yeah,
That's the actual best one. If I had to tell you to go watch one for how it actually works, that'd be it.
I love it.
So while our check is in the mail for promoting Juror number 2 on Max, we will get into the Sunday games.
And Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei.
Okay, Marissa Tomei. Yes,
she's
of course.
still hot at her age.
We're still doing this. Okay. She is so hot though. She is. She's fantastic.
And I don't think she's had any work done too, so that's credit to her.
Right.
But anyway,
okay. So
must be all that garlic and
Well, listen, Steve, we're gonna get to a game that has you just as hot and bothered as Marissa Tomei, and that would be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be welcoming in the Denver Broncos. That's the first game on Sunday. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Right now, going into this game, what do we got here? What is the spread in this sucker? I'm looking at DraftKings. The Buffalo Bills are favored
8.5, 9,
8.5. So for this, I mean, how could we not have Pete defend the side of the Broncos? And then he will go up against Steve here. Steve will make a case for the Bills, which shouldn't be too difficult. But let's go to Pete first. Pete, and you're gonna say fandom aside, which I get it. I have to defend myself every time I mention the word because Anthony breaks down to hives. But make a case here. Denver Broncos, can they go in to Buffalo and get the upset here?
So if there was a team that matched up well, it would be Denver from a defensive standpoint. The biggest worries are obviously James Cook and Josh Allen, but I mean, with Amari Cooper potentially not playing, down another passing weapon, if there's a possibility that they are shut down, if Denver can sell out against the run, and stop the run and force them to pass. I trust if Amari Cooper's not playing and you put Surtain on an island, there is the possibility that they make things difficult. Now, winning the game, it really comes down to can Denver's offense, Josh Allen's going to do what Josh Allen does. I mean, he's going to scramble. He's going to make plays happen. And we kind of already know that. But it's going to really come down to if a rookie in Bo Nix can go into a place like Buffalo and perform the way he's performed in some of the good games that he's had this year. Buffalo's defense has not been great, especially against the run, but Denver's offense really hasn't been able to run the football. So can they trust Jaleel McLaughlin like they did a little bit against the Bengals where, he ripped off a couple of runs against a bad run defense? I think that'll be the X factor is if Denver can establish the run and stop the run, they'll have a chance, but I'm not taking Denver here. I'd be interested to take them on the spread, but I still don't think I'm going to take a rookie quarterback. If I was putting my own physical money down, I wouldn't be taking this game at all on either side because I don't want to touch a rookie quarterback covering, but I also think it's a good matchup for Denver, and I think they can keep it close, but I wouldn't put my financial hard-earned money on either side.
Steve, go ahead. Talk to me about the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, the Bills lose this game, you might as well just hang it up. I mean, this would just be a complete disaster for this organization. I mean, if they don't win a Super Bowl or at least get to a Super Bowl this year, or in Josh Allen's lifetime, they don't win a Super Bowl with him, then they're never going to win a Super Bowl.
Okay,
so
man, Josh Allen's not elite. Then that's terrible.
5-5 playoff record.
He'll make the Hall of Fame, but he may not be elite in your eyes. But anyway,
well, if he gets the Hall of Fame, I'll call him elite.
Yeah, he'll get to the Hall of Fame. But anyway, they're 8-0 at home. They got the Bills Mafia. They beat the Niners 35-10 at home. They beat the Chiefs 30-21 at home.
Decimated.
They went on the road against the Lions and won 48-42. So they're just dominant at home. They took care of the Jets 40-14. That New England game you could say was a little weird, 24-21 as a 14-point dog, but that was coming off a big win against the Lions. So yeah, I mean, Bo Nix, Denver, they've had a great season. A lot of credit to Bo Nix. He's played great. Sean Payton's done a hell of a job. Cortland Sutton's been great. But I just think McDermott will have a plan for them. He'll slow their passing game down. He'll slow that rollout that Bo Nix does 10,000 times a game. I just think that the Bills will get it going on offense. Amari Cooper did report back to the team, by the way, today, so he should be out there this weekend. And I would, the Bills should win this game. And I would, if I'm betting on anybody, it would be Buffalo as well at home. So I think they win this game probably by 10.
Let's go to Anthony. Then we'll go Matt, Coach, Tyler, and then I'll round it out. But Anthony, what's up, man? What do you think about this game?
I mean, Buffalo should handedly win this game. Just looking at Denver leading into the playoffs, obviously they blew out the Kansas City B team. Still NFL player, still a big win. But those two games, those two losses to the Chargers and Cincinnati, their defense really let them down. And their defense was playing well up to those two games. And I could see if they had a little bit more defensive momentum, okay, you go on the road. And maybe there's a world where you could slow down the Bills' offense. The Bills don't run the ball well, which I think that they don't really run the ball well, do they?
Yes, they do.
James Cook had a good game.
James Cook had a great year. They definitely run the ball.
Good year.
Well.
I don't consider
Good.
them a great running team.
He had how many touchdowns? He had like 15 touchdowns, didn't he, James Cook?
All right.
I don't know how many on the
All right,
ground,
all
but
right.
I know he had at least 15
All right,
this
so
year.
they're the best running team in football, Anthony. You fucked that up.
They're
Yeah.
a good running football team.
That Josh
defense
Allen guy
also-
runs
their
the ball
defense
pretty
also-
good too.
And then you got to consider Allen.
Their
there
defense
as well.
also played pretty fucking well against the Bengals, who were probably the hottest offense, and they stopped them in the red zone and didn't allow any points like 3 times. The offense just
Yeah.
sucked.
I don't think that the Bills are infallible. I don't think that Denver's defense can't go in there and slow the offense down. That's the bottom line. I think Buffalo still wins this game, but every year there's a couple of upsets in the NFL playoffs. I trust Sean Payton if it comes down to a coaching duel more than I trust Sean McDermott.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean you got to give Peyton a nod. He's won a Super Bowl. McDermott really has come up short in many spots. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
Matt,
I
what do you
think
got,
like
man?
you said, Steve, you're at home. You got the Bills Mafia. This is the game you got to win. You can't let this slide through. You got to finish the job, get it done. We've seen Buffalo play really well throughout the entire season. So I'm going with Buffalo. I think they will win this. I think they should win it. Not to discredit the Broncos, Pete. Bo Nix has been phenomenal. I'm sure Coach will talk about that in a second. But, I think it's just a little too soon. I think it's a lot like Washington where the rebuild it went right away. It clicked. And, there's a lot to be built off that going into the future. But this year's not your year. It's just not. I think Buffalo's got to handle business, and I think they will.
It's fair.
Coach?
Hey, look, outside of Pete, there's not a bigger Bo Nix believer than me. Like, I am a Bo Nix truther from the beginning. And that being said, he is losing this football game. Like I want him to win. I love him, but he's not going into Buffalo and beating the Bills right here. I just don't see it. I personally do think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, or at least get there in the AFC.
Spoiler alert.
I just think they're better. I do. I just think they're better. And the Broncos,
They
next year,
overachieved.
year after.
The Broncos overachieved.
They did.
And,
Yeah.
It's a good
That's
thing.
They did totally. Yep.
Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody here is going to be brave enough, like we said, to pick the Broncos. I'm still going with the Bills as well. They are the better overall team. I feel like Matt kind of hit it on the head there. I feel like the rebuild just started a little too early. They don't really have the weapons like Denver doesn't. They don't really have the weapons they need to really compete in this game, I feel like. And their defense hasn't played that great either. So going up against Josh Allen and James Cook, who has 16 rushing touchdowns, by the way. So they were the number one rushing touchdown offense in the league this year, according to Sleeper too.
Oh,
so
boy.
sorry, Anthony. But just saying.
Don't say
so
sorry. Throw it in
anyway.
his fucking face. Throw it in mine too, actually, because I backed up Anthony.
Well, anyway, but they are a good offense. I don't really see any reason why the Bills should lose this game. But I will go with what Steve said. And if they don't win this one, it's going to be hard pressed to win another one.
Yeah, I'll just say, in terms of this game, like we've heard some of this rebuild was early, and yeah, that might be an issue in terms of this week in particular, but in terms of long-term outlook on the Denver Broncos, it's a fantastic position to be in. It's a way to be super optimistic moving forward. I myself am also I'm a Bo Nix fan. I think this game is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be the Broncos are going to cover but lose, or the Bills are going to blow them out of the goddamn fucking building.
Yeah.
I'm actually honestly going to go with the Broncos covering but losing. Am I going to fall out of my chair if Buffalo wins by, 20 points? No, I won't be shocked because they're the Buffalo Bills, and it's what the vibe is. What we've all been saying is like, they better win this game. Like, they're the Buffalo Bills. Like, so, yeah, I mean, I'll go the Bills here. I do think, like Pete said earlier, the Broncos are a nice matchup against them compared to other teams that they could have faced in this wild card round. But yeah, give me the Buffalo Bills here. But I will say, Pete, one thing that bodes well for you, we keep joking that we're all picking the same team, so the other team's got to win. So if we're all picking the Bills, that's looking good for you, buddy.
That's true. Hey, the only other thing I'll say, and I said this to you guys yesterday, but Josh Allen against teams that top 10 in sacks this year, he's 0-2. Broncos are number 1. So if they can get to them and give him issues and be able to stop the run, maybe they have a chance.
What are your boys' numbers of sacks for this week?
James Cook is under 53 total yards in.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Did you just say?
I knew Anthony was looking for something.
Yeah,
You
I
just
ain't
said
doing
quarterback.
I know
If they
James
sack the
Cook
quarterback to
James
stop the
Cook
run,
is
yeah, they
Barry
can win.
Sanders.
I know that was
James Cook is
redundant.
Barry Sanders now.
You just said that.
I know that was
Sack the
Anthony
quarterback
gets so
on
fucking
every
dramatic.
throw.
Jesus Christ.
Shut the run down. They'll win.
I just make it if they can actually. I
Man.
meant if they can actually corral him because nobody gets to Allen. He's the least sacked.
Can
quarterback.
somebody make a cap
Jeez.
cut of James Cook with a Barry Sanders?
Careful.
I saw Anthony was looking for something.
I mentioned
Oh,
Jim
back
Harbaugh
there.
coach in San Francisco, and Anthony had a conniption, and then Steve mentions that the Bills have a good run game, and and now he's saying James Cook is Barry Sanders. So
if you can hold James Cook to
Golly.
under 53 total yards and make Josh, I mean, there's no wide receiver on the Bills that this secondary can't shut down.
I agree.
Yeah,
But
but
it's not like Dalton Kincaid is the guy that we thought he was going to be this
no,
year. Either.
not at all.
But it's just a plethora of guys. I mean, Mac Hollins leads the team in touchdowns with 5. So it's
So-
like it doesn't.
But and it's
No, it
also
could be
Josh,
anybody.
but it's also Josh Allen. He's gonna get loose and run for first downs. It's about getting off the field
Keon
on
Coleman
third down.
season.
They're gonna force them into third downs, but it's really about can they get off the field. And I think Allen's gonna probably continuously be like, oh fuck, there he goes again, where he's just gonna run for a first down on third and just go get it. And
I
that's
agree
gonna,
with Mike,
that's gonna be
though.
the biggest thing.
I agree with Mike. Like either the Bills are going to blow them out, or it'll be close. And if it's close, I think the Broncos may get an early lead, and the Bills
Yeah.
will have to come back somehow. Because I don't see the Broncos backdooring this. I feel like at that point it will just be a blowout.
So this is the one thing I wanted to ask before we go to the second game on the Sunday slate. We're all saying the Bills are going to win, just for the hell of it. I've already said I think I predict the Broncos will cover. Does anybody predict the Broncos will cover in this one? Anybody?
I said I wouldn't
Tyler?
put my physical money, but if I
No,
had
but
to
if you're
make a
picking right
decision,
now,
I
you're
would
picking on
take.
the
I would.
show.
Yeah, I'll take them to cover. For
Okay.
shits.
So
I'll
that's
take it.
53%.
I'll roll
53%
with the
on the
cover,
Broncos.
actually, Pete.
All
right,
right,
there you
that's
go.
I'll
four.
roll with the cover.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. I was just curious. Since we all picked the Bills, I was curious about the covering. All right. Let's get to the second out of 3 games on Sunday. Pete, if you're watching on the old YouTube, is showing the old bracket there. Take a look at that. But yeah, so it's going to be at 4:30. It's going to be the Green Bay Packers, the 7 seed, at the Philadelphia Eagles. They are the 2 seed, of course. I am defending, or I'm making a case for really the Eagles, I guess, whatever the hell you want to call it. The Eagles, to me, it's a lot like what I talked about earlier, talking about Derrick Henry and saying this is the reason why the Ravens got Derrick Henry. I think that's more has to do with that AFC Championship and how few carries they had that game, how few rushing attempts. That's more on the offensive coordinator. But be that as it may, the Eagles very much brought in Saquon Barkley as a huge piece to just solidify a Super Bowl run. And I think this is where they unleash him, even though they unleashed the hell out of him all year long until it was time for him to break the all-time rushing record. So I think we're going to see a huge game out of Saquon Barkley in this one. And the biggest thing for me in picking the Eagles here is Jordan Love and that injury last week. I don't trust it. I don't trust that he's going to be okay. I could see some limitations happening. What if, God forbid, his hand is hit when he's throwing the ball? There's a lot of things that can happen to an already undesirable situation here with Jordan Love. So when you're stacking all that against the Philadelphia Eagles team, that is the 2 seed in a very top-heavy conference, I think the Eagles win this game. I think they win this game easily, to be honest. I think Saquon Barkley runs wild. Jalen Hurts did return to practice today. We'll see how that continues to unfold. But for me, I mean, outside of, I get Buffalo, whatever. I think this is one of the most obvious games of the entire weekend for me personally. If I had to put an amount of money on a game most confident on, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. That game right now, the spread is at 4.5 on DraftKings in favor of the Eagles. I would take that with a smile on my face personally, because I think they win by a touchdown easy. So give me the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. Anthony, can you make a case for the Green Bay Packers here in this matchup against the Eagles?
I could try, but
Go for it.
I think I'm more with you that Philadelphia ultimately wins this game. I don't know if they cover. I kind of like Green Bay to cover here, but what we've seen from Green Bay down the stretch is, think about that Minnesota game. Minnesota dominated that football game. Green Bay comes back, but it was a little bit too late. That game was never that close, and I think that Philly could potentially blow the game open early. Green Bay climbs back in. But when it's all said and done, and Steve, remember early, last season, or now it's 2 seasons ago, I was dead set that Jordan Love wasn't it. All of a sudden, Jordan Love starts playing well down the stretch. And he looks like the second coming. And I'm like, maybe I was wrong. And I did a completely 180. Went all in on him at a really nice value pick in fantasy, and that blew up my face this year. Jordan Love did not play great football this year, and I think LaFleur told us a lot, because in the games that Green Bay won in dominant fashion, it was all Josh Jacobs. And Jordan Love, all of those games, threw under 29 passes. And in that Minnesota game was very telling for me, because they continued to run, and they didn't try to unleash Jordan Love. I don't think LaFleur trusts Jordan Love to protect the football if he has to throw it over 30 times. So if we see that situation, they have to let Jordan Love let it rip. He's going to turn the ball over.
I see a lot of nodding from Coach. So I'm going to go to Coach first. I'll go Coach, then I'll go Pete. Then we'll go Matt, Tyler, and then Steve. Steve will round us out in this one. But, Coach, I saw you nodding a bit. You're on mute, but what do you got?
I see that there's a lot of interesting points here for me when it comes to both these games. Like you mentioned Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is one of the reasons the Packers do have somewhat of a chance in this game. He's a heck of a football player. That being said, there's an interesting narrative too to me. Like if the Eagles were to blow this, is Sirianni in trouble? If Sirianni loses his job, if the Eagles find a way to lose this game to the Packers, I think there's a real chance of that. I do think the Eagles are clearly the better football team. The Packers have struggled. I mean, if you can't beat the lowly Bears in Green Bay, right? They've struggled down the stretch a little bit. Jordan Love especially has struggled. Barkley has been so good. The Eagles are just the better team. I do think that Josh Jacobs and them give the Packers a shot, but I just think the Eagles are better. They win the game, I believe.
Pete?
Yeah, the Eagles are my pick in the NFC. I think they're the most complete team. I think they have the best defense that's left in that side of the conference. And I mean, this spread was 2.5 when it first opened up. I still like it at 4.5. I just think that what we saw initially to begin the year, we saw a gunslinger out of Jordan Love, and I think LaFleur has started to coach scared with Jordan Love because as the season has gone on, Josh Jacobs has played better, right? He was off to a little bit of a slower start the year. I think they're starting to rely on Josh Jacobs more and take the ball out of Love's hands, but they're going to be forced to throw the football. This is not a game that they're going to be able to play conservative in against a team like the Eagles. Now, Eagles are a team that also dominate the time of possession. Does it become a lower scoring game because Eagles control the football? I mean, we saw them have a 12-minute drive against the Steelers a couple weeks back. I mean, so I think it's in the Eagles' best interest to put the foot on the gas and score points and force the Packers to throw from behind with Love. But I don't see the Packers having any chance in this game, to be completely honest. I think the spread is pretty favorable considering the injury to Love. I think it should be closer to 5. But yeah, I'm taking the Eagles here comfortably.
Know what the Packers remind me of this year? Being a Cow, they remind me of like the 12-win Cowboys teams and Dak from the past few years. If you look at who the anytime the Packers played a really good team, they couldn't win this year.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love would come up small.
Matt, what are your thoughts here? We'll go Matt, Tyler, and then Steve. You can round us out, buddy.
Okay.
If there's any hope for the Packers, it's that they haven't really been blown out by anybody. I know you mentioned earlier they lost with the Vikings game where they stormed back. So if you're betting the spread, there's at least that to think about, that they've kind of played within the ball game every single week. Josh Jacobs is the key. I mean, you got Christian Watson tore his ACL, so he's out. I don't think you want Love throwing the ball 30 times like you said. So if the Packers are going to win this game, it's going to come down to coaching, and it's going to come down to Josh Jacobs. Jacobs is going to have to run the ball. He's going to have to run the ball well. I don't see a world where the Eagles don't win this game, but I mean, I would love to pick against them because I hate them. But as it stands right now, they're the most complete team. Like Pete said, they're good at everything. They don't really have any holes. But if you told me that Jalen Hurts came out there and he threw some questionable balls, couple interceptions, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he did that when they played the first time around when they opened the season, put the ball in harm's way, and things can change real quick. So the defense is going to have to step up. I don't think they have enough to get it done. I think Philly wins the game, but I'm hoping for an upset.
Yeah, speaking of the game earlier in the season, I mean, that was a close one. It was 34-29 with the Eagles winning, two teams play. It was a close game the first time. I think the big issue, like everybody said, is the health of Jordan Love. That's the thing, is Jordan Love, he was limited, at practice. I think there's hoping that he plays. He was throwing. He was doing fine. I was actually looking just out of curiosity. It looks like Malik Willis was also limited by a thumb issue. Now, I mention that because let's say something happens that Jordan Love does get hurt and Malik Willis comes in. Okay, well, we obviously don't expect them to win the game if that happens. But if you're already limited down to your second-string quarterback, and then now your second-string quarterback also has an injury that makes it harder for him to throw the ball, you're really just relying on Josh Jacobs at that point. And for whatever reason, Pete said they did the gunslinger approach at the start of the season, and it looked like Jordan Love was going to have another great season to start with. We thought we hit on Jaden Reed being, top 12 guy this year. And over the last half of the year, as Josh Jacobs has progressed, the rest of the teams kind of fell off. There's inconsistencies everywhere. I also heard a stat too. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but basically the success of the Packers, oddly enough, is tied to when Christian Watson plays. He may not seem as relevant, but when he's missed, they have struggled a lot on offense. So, the injuries, I think that's going to catch up with him, but they're a really young team. I don't think this is the end of the Packers at all. But like everybody else says, the Eagles should win this game, and that's just because right now they're the more complete team.
Steve, what's up, man? What do you got?
Yeah, we could think about that first game. What was that? That game was in Mexico. Where the hell was that game at?
Yeah,
Brazil.
Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah. Remember the field wasn't it real sloppy? And then I think Jordan Love hurt his MCL in that game. And then he missed 2 or 3 weeks after that. I think he didn't come back for a while. And then he got re-injured again. So it's kind of been like a little bit of an injury plagued season for him. But even in that opening game, he kind of looked a little overconfident, throwing off his back foot. And we saw that from him last year when he was just kind of slinging it around and throwing those bombs and throwing off his back foot, and kind of really hasn't worked for him this year. And they just kind of seem a little out of sorts. And bringing in Josh Jacobs, they've definitely relied on him. That Minnesota game, they definitely should have went to the passing game earlier. When they did open it up finally, they started to get it going. But I do think the Christian Watson injury is huge. Philadelphia, like Pete said, the spread went from 2.5 to 5. So obviously sharp money realizes, freaking Watson's hurt. Jordan Love's elbow is banged up. Malik Willis has, kind of had a little bit of a renaissance revival here in this offense. And I don't think he's a terrible option if he has to go. But yeah, I think the Eagles should advance into a world where the Packers can win. I could see them Packers winning. I could see them covering. But yeah, I would favor the Eagles here. I just don't think Green Bay is quite as good as they were last year overall in the playoffs against Dallas when they tore up the Dallas secondary in that game. I mean, we could possibly see that, but I don't know if we're going to see that without Watson, Malik Heath and Bo Melton and, Tucker Kraft will have to step up. Wicks is not terrible, but I just think it's asking too much to take on a Philly team that's revamped now with Vic Fangio, with Kellen Moore, and with Saquon Barkley.
So I hate to do this again because we're going to do this for the fourth fucking time right now so far. We're all agreeing that the Eagles are going to win, right? Outright.
Yes. The next two games should be.
I know. I was thinking that too.
Say the best for last, I guess.
But so we're all picking the Eagles.
Nobody's had any balls.
I'll pick the Packers if it saves the board. I don't care.
All right, let's
go. No, we'll put the spreads on the board. I have you at plus 4.5, Matt, on this game. That's what you said.
Right.
You said you would take it.
Well, Matt's a big boy. He can speak for himself. Matt, you want to pick him to win outright or no?
Would take the money.
I'm going to do it. Give me the Packers. Give me the Packers.
I got
an upset. We're not going to have a chalk playoffs.
He's a grown man. He's a grown man.
Bet the Dontavian Wicks overs and Tucker Kraft.
He's not as old as Coach and me, but he's a grown man. He can make his picks. He's fine.
Yeah,
I'm learning from my elders, Pete.
There's a lot of elders on this
You're
show.
welcome. You're welcome, kind sir. All right, let's get into the third game, which I think is funny because my buddy, who's a diehard Eagles fan, invited me over to his house to watch the Eagle game. Little does he know that at 8:00, I'm going to be all hot and bothered about this game. And me and Anthony fight tooth and nail every time I mention the 49ers. He breaks into hives, but on this one, me and Anthony are holding hands and we're ready to roll. Ready to Buccaneer pride in this one. Washington Commanders, the 6th seed at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are the 3rd seed. This closes out Saturday of the wild card weekend. But yeah, so Anthony clearly, based on my previous statements, is going to make the case for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Anthony, I'll kick it to you, man. And then, Matt, we'll go to you with Washington after that. But Anthony, I know you're emotionally invested a little bit now. Talk to me about Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa is my sleeper team to make a run in the NFC. There's just a lot of and I'll take it back because everybody's like, well, they almost lost to the Saints. I thought that was a good game of adversity for this offense because, a lot of their wins, they just blow teams out. They had to overcome adversity. I get it was the Saints. They're not a good football team. But how many times in recent years where we're in a week 18 or week 17, it's a must-win game, and they keep bringing up those Colts teams, the Rivers team, the Wentz team, where it was the final week of the season and they would go lose to the last place Jaguars because they did not belong. The Buccaneers had to overcome some adversity. They had to go out and win this football game, and they were in a small deficit, and they came out and they dominated the second half. And this takes me to somebody like Baker Mayfield, where I don't know if it's arrogance, I don't know if it's confidence, but I don't think Baker Mayfield is worried about any team he goes up against. And if we go into earlier this year, they've already beaten the Lions, they've already beaten the Commanders, they've beaten Philly, they beat Philly, they kicked Philly's ass last year's wild card weekend. So a lot of these NFC teams, Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers have already defeated. So this Washington team, who they beaten in week 1, they get a different version of Jaden Daniels. When it's all said and done, I don't think Washington has enough firepower if this Buccaneers offense starts taking off to keep up. Terry McLaurin's been nice. Zach Ertz's been nice. Can they run the ball? They haven't been able to run the ball with Brian Robinson as effectively in the second half of the year. And I think that worries me because Tampa's defense, they're a top 5 against the run. They're bottom 5 against the pass. If you make Jaden Daniels one-dimensional, I'm not ready to say he's good enough to overcome that. When it's all said and done, I think Tampa Bay wins and covers 3.
Matt, what do you got, man?
I'm gonna disagree with you. I think Washington wins outright, and here's why.
Oh, I like it.
We got Dan Quinn.
Oh,
Dan Quinn's got playoff experience. We haven't had
It
that
ain't
in
been
Washington
good.
in a long time.
That playoff experience got him casted out of Dallas against Green Bay last year.
It might have, but you know what? It's a new team, and Washington has been the team of destiny. The craziest things have happened for them every single week, and there's no way to explain it. We beat Coach's Bears off of Hail Mary. We should have beat the Cowboys if we didn't miss an extra point. I mean, this team has just found a way to overcome adversity.
there's a lot of wheezing there.
time.
You're telling me talking about the Niners.
Right.
Ooh, I'm hot and bothered about it, man. And
you
you know, I do think
Get in
that your
there.
point, you know, the Bucs offense is really good. And Baker, he does have the moxie, maybe is the word, or the confidence, or that he's developed to go in there and not care who he's playing. If Washington's going to win this game, it comes down to the defense. The defense has been bad all year. There's no way around it. But it's a different team than faced the Bucs week 1. The team's totally different. Daniels is kind of in a groove. He's been able to open up the passing game because week 1, he was not doing what he's doing right now. It was a lot of dink and dunk, screens and RPO reads. Now they're doing things down the field that's progressing the game forward. And I think that there's something to be said for that. Washington's not going to go in there and bow down because that defense is loaded with vets. Like you've got Frankie Louvu is going to have to be able to get after Baker in this game. If he can get after Baker and get a sack or two, that's going to be impactful. Jonathan Allen's back, so we're going to have Payne and Allen in the middle. It's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, you've got the matchup on the outside between Mike Evans and Lattimore. What's going to happen there? Are they going to fight? Are there going to be penalties? I don't know. But what I do know is Washington's going to play physical as hell because they have every single week. Whether they're getting beat by 20 or they're winning by 10, that defense is going after people. And I think there's a possibility that they can escape with a win. Washington's special teams unit, it's questionable. The kicking game has been all over the place. I'm sure Hoff could tell about the 8 different kickers that have kicked for Washington, I think, this year. I might be being a little bit dramatic there. I think it's like 5.
No, but still, there's been a lot. Yeah.
It's been a lot. So I know that the odds are stacked against them. They need to rein it in and play good on defense and move the ball down the field. But I think it's possible. If I was going to be picking a team to play, I'd want to play the Bucs, to be honest.
Wow.
Okay. Only because I saw.
Wow.
Oh, you know what? Never mind. We're gonna go Coach first. Then we'll go Pete. Only because I saw Pete almost looked like he was being talked into a little bit. We'll go Coach, Pete, Steve, Tyler for our takes here. Go ahead, Coach. What?
Real
Oh,
quick,
quick.
before Coach goes.
You gotta brush this up.
My
This feels like
favorite
me when I
part
talk
is
to
he's
Anthony.
about to have nothing but a stance about Bucky Irving. And that's a win in my book, too. So go ahead, Coach.
No, look,
Wait.
Washington is a fluke. They're a fluke. They've had 4 or 5 miracle wins that they pulled out of their butt. Their record is a joke. They are going to lose to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's a better football team. They had a couple miracles. Tampa Bay wins the game. Tampa Bay's better than they are.
You can't fight destiny, Coach.
Shit, man, coaches. All right.
Woo!
Go.
Let's go.
Pete, what do you got? Pete,
They went and the Bucks win on the back of Bucky Irving.
There it is. Okay, there it is. All right, we got that covered. There it is.
I'm gonna take the Commanders with Matt.
Nice.
Look, reason being is Anthony can talk all about this Bucs defense. They've been good against the run lately and all this, but look at their schedule. Okay, when you look at defensive EPA from week 8 to week 12, they were at the bottom of the league, and then even prior to that, they were 25th from week 1 to 12. Okay, weeks 12 to 18, they're number 3. But when you look at this defense, they've played nobody. They've played nobody since week 12. They got the Giants, they got the Steelers, they got the Eagles, where they didn't look very great. Oh, sorry, no, I'm looking at the Commanders. I apologize.
Oh my god!
Since week since week 12, they let the Falcons score 31 against them. Okay, with Kirk Cousins, who looked awful. They had the Ravens score 41 the week before. The Chiefs scored 30 in their first game to score 30 points this year. And then they got an awesome stretch of they got the banged up 49ers who beat them. Then they had the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Cowboys, and the Panthers and the Saints. They played no good offenses since week 12, where this defense has, per EPA and per metrics, has looked like one of the better units in the league. So to me, I'm talking myself into it where if this Bucs defense looks like the defense we saw a while back, I have concerns about them containing Jaden Daniels. And I know it looked they've also lost a ton of pieces on defense since the last time that they played. So I'll ride with Matt and I'll take him. I'll take him to win.
Steve, you're next. I'll just say someone either needs to silence their phone or turn off their vibrator because there's a lot of vibrating going on. Steve, I'll go to you next, Steve. That's me just having a joke. I don't give a shit about the vibrating of the phone. Just having a laugh. Steve,
Yeah, we saw these two teams play way back September 8th. Bucs won 37-20 at home. That total was 41.5. Now we got a 50.5 total. So a lot of fireworks expected in this game. Jaden Daniels had a big game in that week 1 game. He ran for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we've seen this Bulls defense look like shit many times. Specifically, I think Spencer Rattler's 2 best games were against this Bucs defense. So, yeah, like the over. I think this game between Tampa and Washington, I feel like, you're going to get high intensity playoff. Obviously, defense should step up, but I think this is the one total that should go over here at 50.5. But can the Commanders pull it off? 3-point dog on the road. Jaden Daniels, rookie of the year. Again, their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed early in the season. Play a little bit better of late, but Tampa's defense hasn't been good either. Bucky Irving, he's been awesome all season. Mike Evans, the way they closed that game out, getting him, the yardage. I think that was a good vibe for them. Jalen McMillan, you could argue he's the best receiver coming out of Washington, definitely over Jalen Polk. I never liked Jalen Polk, but you could argue over him over Adunze at this point. We'll see if they get Cade Otton back, but I don't think that's a huge deal. So, yeah, this is going to be a close game. Again, all these spreads, I feel like this spread is very, very close too. I could see the Commanders pulling it out. I don't know if they're a team of destiny, Matt, but I don't know where the destiny is. But maybe. I would give Dan Quinn the coaching advantage over Bowles. He's accomplished more. At least he's been to a Super Bowl. And Bowles is, it really hasn't been that great. And Tampa's weird. Like Baker will just kind of just disappear for stretches. And we've seen that several times, even with the Bucs in the past couple of years. But I would love to pick the Commanders. I think I'll give the slight edge to the Bucs though, and I'll take the Bucs. But if I was going to bet the spread, I think I'd take the Commanders.
Tyler, what do you got?
Well, I've been listening to everybody's argument, and I've tried to go back and forth in my head as to who's going to win, and I still don't know that I have 100% of a decision. Teams just based off of players in general. Matt's preseason, all-season darling that he loves to talk about, Bucky Irving. He texted me when he went and watched them play. And he watched him play in a college game, and he was like, watch out for him. He's going to be good. That's been a year ago at this point, over a year. And it's come to fruition. That being said, my issue lies with the Bucs, lies with the fact that it is Lattimore versus Evans. Seems like every time that happens, Mike Evans doesn't typically do well, I don't feel like. And Godwin being out, now McMillan has came in. He's looked good. Cade Otton's had his own, games earlier in the season and stuff. But I think listening to Matt's argument and, kind of riding along with Pete, I might go Washington here just because I think, these close games, like we've said, they've come down to a few plays and it just seems like it always falls Washington's way. So give me the defense winning against Mike Evans, kind of going that way. I think they can get the ball rolling here. Maybe Brian Robinson, he gets back on track a little bit. But I do expect it to be close, and I would expect the game to hit the over for sure.
All right. So that means we've got what? 4 for the Buck. I know you got something else, Anthony. We got 4 for the Buccaneers, 3 for the Commanders, but I know, Anthony, you've been sitting there far too long to have something else.
No, in those games that they did lose to Kansas City and San Francisco and Atlanta from weeks 8 to 10, Evans did not play, neither did Godwin.
It's fair. But the defense looked pretty bad. That was
Washington's
my point.
5th in scoring. So there's that you can hang your hat on.
And so is Tampa Bay. They're top 5 too.
But which defense,
I'm not picking
which defense do
Tampa.
you trust more?
He's not picking Tampa because of the defense as much. He's just mentioning some of the defensive stuff. He's more so going with Baker.
I am siding with who I trust more. I think if you make Washington one-dimensional, which they can do, with a top 5 defense against the run, I would give the edge to Tampa.
Sure.
All right.
I just don't think
Winfield
Washington. They don't have enough juice outside of Terry McLaurin.
So it's me, Anthony.
Unless your
Coach,
boy
and
Eckler
Steve.
steps up.
Oh yeah.
Eckler's back.
No,
I don't know if you know that he signed KJ
Zacchaeus?
Osborne.
Zacchaeus is fun in week 17.
I want to pick.
Miami fucking Brown.
I want to pick.
Slander.
I want to pick the Commanders based off the way that they tore up Philly's defense and the way Jaden Daniels finished that game.
Coward.
All right, I'll take the Commanders. Fuck it.
Okay, so we got 4 for the Commanders.
I cannot wait until Benjamin St. Juice gives up a touchdown to lose this game, and Matt is crying so bad.
He would be so pissed. Bet me over on 2 right now. He gives up 2.
I am lockstep with Anthony. So it's me, Anthony, Coach. We're all going with the Buccaneers. The rest of you all fools are going with the Commanders. And yeah, let's ride, fellas. But all right. Oh, Broncos country, Pete. Let's ride. We I slipped that in there.
And Washington also gives up the 3rd most rushing yards per game, which is bodes well for Bucky Irving.
Yes.
Postseason's a new year.
Dan Quinn, baby.
Anthony, you love Dan Quinn.
I love
you love Dan Quinn
last year. So that Green Bay game and the wild card game.
No, you liked him this offseason a little too, though. You did like him a little in the offseason.
You were upset about losing him. You were upset.
Yeah, it was because look what we ended up with.
Yeah, just like I was yeah. All right.
Old man Zimmer.
Well, old man rocking a new girl, man.
Isn't he half blind too, Zimmer? Didn't he have eyes?
Don't worry about that. He's fine. Don't worry about that.
It explains how that defense didn't show up in Dallas then.
As long as it's still working, it doesn't matter.
Get that last ride bullshit out of here. No, I will say last ride only because it makes Petey laugh. All right, let's get to our last game here. The final game of wildcard weekend will be played on Monday. We'll see what, honestly, and obviously our thoughts go out to everybody out in LA dealing with the fires. I mean, we will see what happens with that game, as Anthony kind of alluded to earlier, because it is the Minnesota Vikings at the LA Rams. Right now, it's scheduled for 8 p.m. We'll see what happens with it. But on the surface, let's just talk about the game itself. While obviously we're all, hoping for the best for everybody out there. But this game in general, I feel like this is another game that we might all disagree on. Talking about the points here, where are we? We're going to go Coach and Tyler. Coach, we'll go with you first. Make a case for who's going to win this game.
Man, I really like the Rams. I really like Sean McVay. McVay's 7-4 in the playoffs. The Viking defense is really good, but they've struggled with 2 teams this year. They struggled with the Lions twice, and the other team to score 30 on them this year was the Los Angeles Rams. The defense has been really good. Flores has had great schemes for them. The one person he has not bothered one bit is Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford was phenomenal. I think he threw 4 touchdown passes against them in the regular season. If there's a guy that's going to win one game, I really like Matt Stafford as the quarterback to do it. Sam Darnold struggled really bad last week. I'm curious to see if that carries over into this week. He had a horrendous game last week. I think the pressure's on him big time right here. So we'll see what he's made of this Sunday. I'm a big fan of obviously Puka and just the Rams' entire offense. Their defense has been not terrible. I don't think it's amazing, but it's been solid. They've came up big at times throughout the year. I just think the Rams can get it done.
Right. And Tyler, what about you, man? What do you got here?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't agree with Coach about Sam Darnold pumpkining last week. He's looked good the rest of the season, I feel like. He actually ended overall. So he's looked good for most of the season. I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say necessarily torn, but they're starting to question whether they're going to stay with Sam Darnold or if they're going to try J.J. McCarthy out. And I think that shows how well that Darnold's played. Pair that with the fact that not only has Jordan Addison came onto the scene, pretty hot and heavy this year, but they also have the best player in football with Justin Jefferson out there at wide receiver. And anytime you've got that kind of guy, he can take over a game so quick it's not even funny. I also think sneakily, I think Aaron Jones has had a decent year too.
Yeah.
And I'd look like this defense for the Rams, like Coach said, they've not been great. They've not been horrible. They're young, though. So I look for that. With KOC, I think he'll have some different things dialed up, probably spread the ball around a little bit more. As long as Sam Darnold doesn't just go out and, pull old Jets Sam Darnold moves and we start seeing ghosts and everything else, I think we'll be okay. I truly think the Vikings could take this game pretty handedly. And I think, you give JJ the ball 10 times and he scores 2 or 3 times with over 150 yards. I don't think it's going to matter.
Like I think I would be shocked if Stafford laid an egg. I would not be shocked if Darnold laid an egg.
That's a fair point.
I'll say that.
Let's go. Yeah, it's good. Let's go to Steve next. We'll go Steve, Pete, Anthony, Matt, and then I'll round it out. But go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think I got to go with the Rams. Monday night, Matt Stafford. They got the LA, crowd behind them with everything that's going on. Definitely taking Stafford over Darnold. And as good as McConnell is, I still got to give McVay the edge. They're home dogs. I think this is, when I compare everything here, I think this is the one spread that's out of line. I think this is my best pick of the week with the spread, Rams outright, plus the 1. I just think Stafford, Puka, freaking Cup rather. DeMarcus Robinson gets into the mix. They won the first matchup early in the year back in October. They won that game. I think DeMarcus Robinson had 2 touchdowns in that game when they played. They won 30-20 in LA. So yeah, I mean, Darnold, give him props. He had a great year. Definitely a rebound season. But I think what we saw last week in the biggest spot and one of the biggest games, I think you have to take that into account. I think that's a little bit worrisome. And they still have, great weapons, obviously, with Jefferson and Addison and Hockenson back and Aaron Jones. And they have a very, dangerous defense that could create pressure with Flores. But, yeah, give me Stafford. Give me the guy that's won a Super Bowl. Give me McVay, the guy that's won a Super Bowl at home Monday night with everything, with the whole aura behind them. I think this is my best pick of the week.
Good times. Go ahead,
All right.
Pete, what do you got?
Does that correlate with Darnold somehow, or?
I don't know. Pete's muted. He's just running. He's just like a dog running.
I didn't want to cut you off, so I was waiting for you to stop, so I could play that.
Shit, that sounds good. That's a nice conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that we saw last week with Darnold is pressure. How he handles the pressure. The Vikings this season on offense as a team allow the 3rd most quarterback pressures in pressure percentage. On 39 of their passing plays, 39% of their passing plays, they allow pressure. When you look at this defensive line for the Rams, they're top 10 in QB pressure rate. I think the loss of Darashaw, their left tackle, Jared Verse is probably getting defensive rookie of the year. He's also, I think he's 4th in quarterback pressures this year, and he's a rookie. I think it's gonna come down to, can they get to the quarterback, and can they mess up Darnold and get him off his spot. But I'm taking the Rams here. I trust McVay at all the points to Stafford and McVay, and they've been there. Darnold, I just don't trust him on the road with a defense that can rattle him, and I think we're going to see that. I know the Rams defense hasn't been awesome, but they can pressure the quarterback, which is my biggest worry.
Anthony, go ahead. Anthony, Matt, and then I'll go.
Rams defense down the stretch has been outstanding. It's been winning them games. The offense hasn't really showed up much. And that's what worries me here, because we know that Minnesota normally, outside of last week, can score the football. I think everybody is putting way too much stock into what happened in the season finale against Detroit. Outside of that game, Minnesota was a 14-2 football team. And I put a lot of it, like, you want to blame Darnold, you can blame Darnold all you want. I blame Kevin O'Connell for his play calling in that Detroit game. First two, I think it was in the first quarter, there were 2 sequences back to back where Minnesota had the ball inside the 10-yard line. They ran the ball one time. Where's the creativity? Where is the mixing it up from Kevin O'Connell? And normally he's one of the better play callers in the NFL. I don't think he brought his A game against Detroit, and Detroit eventually, that's the type of team where they'll eventually blow it open, and you can't leave potentially 14 points on the table. And that's what Minnesota did early in that football game. Is there a worry about Darnold making mistakes? Yes, he makes mistakes, but normally he makes his mistakes once Minnesota has the lead. I'm going to take Minnesota to win this game outright. I think they are the better football team. They're more talented than the Rams right now.
Matt, what do you got, man?
I really want to agree with you, Anthony. I think you were spot on there. I think Kevin O'Connell's the key here. But I can't help but feel what Coach and Pete mentioned, the word pressure. I can't imagine the pressure that Sam Darnold has right now. I mean, like you said, 14-2, you don't want to discount the season he's had, but, he's playing for his job. Like, there's no way around that. There's a rookie behind him ready to go. And, is he going to play for the Vikings? Is he going to go play somewhere else? I don't know. We'll figure out. We'll talk about that all offseason, I'm sure. But what I know is his last game was horrible. And so he's about to go on the national stage for one more game, and he's got to put it all on the line. I'm not sure if I'm ready to pick against McVay, pick against the Rams. And like Coach said, Matt Stafford, if I had to give the ball to one guy, I want to give it to Matt Stafford out of that group just because I trust him. I think he's going to get it done. Like Coach said, if he's going to lay an egg, that would shock me. If Sam Darnold went out there and laid an egg, it wouldn't. Not at all. So I think a lot rides on this game, and it's a coaching duel. I think these two guys are going to go out there and they're going to play chess. So hopefully we get a firework game where we get to get the over and lots of points scored, where we have our big name wide receivers do a lot for our fantasy playoff leagues. But for me, I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I think the general consensus around listening to you guys talk, what I've been thinking about all week is just head coach matchup, quarterback matchup. Who are we going with? That seems to be driving a lot of the picks here. I know the Vikings have had a great defense this year for the most part, ish, in a way. They've done good getting after the quarterback. They haven't done great against wide receivers, really. And I know Matthew Stafford hasn't been, I forget who alluded to that. Anthony, you might have said it. The defense has more so been carrying the Rams down the stretch, more so than the offense. But the Rams do have the potential to break the bank in terms of their wide receivers. Listen, I know Sam Darnold is a 49ers legend, but if I got to go with a team here, I'm going to go with the Rams. I think the Rams will win this game. I think it'll be close, though. It'll be close. This will be, Steve, you talked about earlier, talking about the Commanders and the Buccaneers being a very high-scoring affair, something you believe could be the over. I believe this game could also be something that could be very high-scoring here. we'll see how the conditions change of where it's played, so on and so forth, if that changes. But I'm ultimately going to go with the Rams here to win this game. I think the whole thing with the Vikings was great. I think it was a fun magic carpet ride throughout the season. I just don't think that they're not as. Yeah, they were great this year. They did very well, but I just don't put them on that level of the Lions and the Eagles. So give me the Rams in this one. That's what I'm going with. So
59% of people on the Vikings spread. So interesting.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to say is I think Kevin O'Connell stooped down to a level with Dan Campbell last week, and if he can make adjustments and stick to what they've been doing, I think they have a better shot. But I mean, this was a team that went for it on fourth down, I think, at like one of the lowest rates this year, and they like Anthony said, they left a lot of points on the table. And I do think it is a little overblown the way people are reacting to last week's game. But I think it's more, to me, it's just more about the Rams than it is the Vikings. And I just trust the Vikings more.
I was going to
the
ask
Rams
that.
more.
That's what I meant. Sorry, the Rams more.
And I was going to ask that, and I know it's super hypothetical. There's no way to really answer, but it was just simply like, if Sam Darnold didn't play the way he did last week, if he even played subpar, like not to the great standard he was early on throughout the year, would so many of us be in line to take the Rams here? I mean, there's no real way to answer that.
Honestly, I think
Rams.
I think a lot of people would still pick the Rams because it is Sam Darnold and they're waiting for that pumpkin moment.
Okay. Well,
if it didn't happen last week, it was going to happen this week.
I think it comes down to Rams are home, Stafford, McVay, and the whole LA thing. Although Darnold is from Cali and that area too, but yeah, I just think it's really Stafford and McVay. I'll take that over O'Connell and Darnold. That's the X factor. And I think Coach brought up a good point, with Stafford, against the blitz and, facing that blitz, he'll be able to handle that.
All right. So we're in line.
I do think the Darnold thing is I do think the Darnold thing is a bit overblown, but at the same time, that's exactly what puts double the pressure on him going into this week. Way more so than if he had played really well last week. Now the pressure's on big time.
I think regardless of what happens, it would be foolish for the Vikings to let him go and put an unknown after winning 14 games and putting J.J. McCarthy under center.
I agree.
Yeah, I think they should. I think they should roll with both guys. Like, who else are you going to get? So
unless he doesn't want to play on the tag, that's the only thing I worry about.
Yeah, that's something we'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out because apparently, according to a majority of us, his season will be over after this weekend.
Super Bowl picks before we go.
All right, but Tyler, were you the only one picking the Vikings? Or
we could come back. We should do this for the divisional round too. So.
Yeah, we
will. But Tyler, were you the only one picking the Vikings here?
No, I think Anthony did too.
Oh, yeah. Anthony did. All right, so Anthony and Tyler.
We both did.
Okay. Yep. But everybody else picked the Rams. All right, so we did in our last two games at least. We all differentiated, but everything else before that, lockstep. But all right,
I do think one upset might come. At an AFC, if there's an upset, it's as shocking as it sounds. It could be Pittsburgh or Denver. I think one of those teams could be the upset of the week.
I mean, there's always upsets wildcard weekend. So, yeah, it could definitely – and, yeah, I hear you, and I'm with you. I mean, I think whatever.
But you don't get credit for it could be an upset. You got.
I know. No, that's fine. Yeah, I just – my whole bit of that, and Anthony, you're right, just – I can't see the Bills losing, but if I had to pick a team that could beat the other one, I could see the Broncos somehow stunning the Bills. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, Josh
maybe
Allen's
it's a lack of faith.
Playoff record. Maybe he's a little bit of a hint.
Maybe no, it's not that. It's not that. Don't do that. Don't do it. It's not that. It's more.
What about his 20? What about his 20 to 4 touchdown to interception ratio in the playoffs?
And
Did
we're off.
that hinder him winning?
I'm
Anthony-
sure he won a
Anthony's
lot of
still-
people's fantasy championships and playoffs with that.
Oh,
Anthony's
yeah.
still mad. He took care of his boy Mac Jones a couple years ago.
There we go.
The guru Sean McDermott that Anthony loves that gave up
Oh,
a field goal in 7 seconds. It's good. Yeah, okay.
That was Leslie Frazier. That was.
I don't
Leslie
even
Frazier.
like Sean McDermott that much, but he
Yeah,
was a
Jesus,
very
man.
good
Jesus
defensive
Christ.
head coach for a run.
I was more so trying to illustrate
Dan
the point.
Quinn. He's Dan Quinn. Okay. That's all.
Just listen, Matt, Coach, and Tyler are so tired of this. They're so tired of listening to you guys. I was
I'm
more
enjoying it.
so. I was more so.
I was
Jordan,
like, Joe Burrow's
I was-
5-2 in the playoffs.
don't be a
by the way.
smart ass. I was more so just trying to say that I think I can't see the Steelers win this weekend. I don't. I can't. I get it that we did this and we made a case for it, this and that. I can't see it happening. I can't. So that's why I'd say
Now
the
it will.
Broncos if I had to pick one of them.
Unless they bring in their secret weapon, of course.
Cordell Patterson. Yeah.
And I rib on you guys about Josh Allen, but that's got nothing to do with that. Anthony's, of course, jump right the fuck in.
Can I ask you something? Because Steve brought it up. Is there
You're
a
asking
world
me?
where Fields becomes the guy? Not obviously not the starter,
Not
but
in Pittsburgh,
would they bench Russ halfway through the game if it becomes that bad?
And it would have
Honest
to be really,
God.
it would have to be really bad.
With Russ, no matter
He
what.
would, he
It
would
would
have
have
to have
to-
like 3 interceptions or something like that.
No, it wouldn't have to be that bad, but it would have to be bad. It would
If
have to be
Russ
bad.
The game would have to be out of hand. It would have to be out of hand.
Okay.
I mean,
that too,
how
Coach.
bad was
Yeah.
Russ the last time we saw him, right? We had like, 6 completions in the first half?
I mean, they're all
If,
for the
if-
last.
if the
4 games
offense
with
is
Russ.
that bad,
And then how bad was
This
he the week
week?
before, too? On
and he
Christmas.
played really bad against the Ravens 3 weeks ago.
Every
Yeah,
every
he-
offense under Mike Tomlin has been bad for the last decade. I mean,
Let's not do this.
It's,
I'm just saying. I'm just
Well,
saying.
once Big Ben's arm. Once
why
Big
are we
Ben
all of a
started
sudden
turning-
throwing arrows in the last 10 minutes of the goddamn show? Fuck. I only have so much alcohol in front of me. I can't do this much longer.
Tune back
Jeez.
next week for the divisional round, baby. Let's go.
But all right. But Pete mentioned you wanted to give Super Bowl picks. We can give
Yeah.
Super
we
Bowl
could
picks
give
and,
the pre
and we can revisit it.
Yeah, I'm typing
Pete,
them all
go ahead.
out.
So we'll go Pete, Anthony, Matt, myself, Coach, Tyler, Steve.
All right, I'll throw
And I
out.
won't ask you guys to announce yourselves either. Yeah.
I'll throw out a score too, just for fun. Eagles versus Bills. Bills win 30-27. That's what I got.
I will go.
Buccaneers. Do it, you coward.
I can't do it as much as I want to.
I know. I love
So
you.
I'd have to do a score too. I will go.
You don't have to do a score. Pete.
Yeah,
did
I
the
just
score
figured why
for-
not? Why not just throw it? Fuck it.
He was
If
just
I
adding
look
some
like a
player.
genius if the score gets right. So,
Hmm.
and if it
I
gets
will
wrong, no
go
one can. care.
Kansas City 30, Detroit 27.
As much as I'll end my destiny
Great.
line here, it's going to be Bills Lions. Bills scoring 31, Lions 28.
Jesus. All right. I'm going to go Eagles, Chiefs, and I'm going to go Eagles winning 24-17.
I'm
Coach.
going Bills, Eagles, Bills 34-24.
Oh. Bet the over. Nice. Tyler?
I'm probably going to go Kansas City against the Lions, and I'm actually going to take the Lions by 3. So we'll do 34-31.
Hot damn.
You said Chiefs 34, Lions 31, or opposite?
Opposite.
Okay, got you.
Steve?
Bills, Lions, Bills 37, Lions 34 in overtime.
Okay. Wait
Let's go, Steve.
Let
Let's
me
go,
just
Steve.
let me just do something real quick, Pete, because I know you're entering all this.
Yeah.
Did no one pick the Chiefs?
Nobody picked the Chiefs, of
I
course.
picked the Chiefs.
Anthony did.
No, Anthony went. Oh yeah, Chiefs 30, Lions 27. Yeah.
You know
The
what?
Team of Destiny. Where's the team of
You know what?
Destiny?
You know what? Flip my
Yeah,
score.
Huff, you keep talking about how you kept
I
talking about
just
how
said
you
you.
love the Chiefs.
Can you All right. Stop speaking. Listen to me. Flip the score. Chiefs win.
All right. So you want Chiefs 24, Eagles 17.
17. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we got
I'm not ready to rule
one,
Commanders
two.
out. I'm just
We
saying.
have 3 Bills, 2
Shut up,
Chiefs. No, three Bills, 2 Chiefs, and
1 Lions.
1 Lions. 4 Bills. Sorry, 4 Bills.
4 Bills.
1 Lions, 2 Chiefs.
Boy,
I will
we all got real crazy there with those picks.
Well,
Oh,
Anthony was the one who could have shot his shot with the Buccaneers, but cooler heads prevailed.
I think they can make a title game run, but I don't
No,
know.
I
if
get
they
it.
can
No, I think
beat
they can make a run,
Detroit.
too.
Hey,
I'm
if they
with you.
do, I'll be happy because I got a lot of them in best ball.
I'm
Well,
with you, man.
The Lions right now are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Plus 320.
And
Fuck
nobody
the
even
Lions.
had the Ravens in it.
Oh,
Lions
that
are-
is true. Nobody said Ravens.
It's
good
Lions,
ball, too.
Chiefs. Chiefs are plus 370. Ravens are plus 550, and the Bills are plus 600. Eagles are plus
Lions are
650.
Lions are a bunch of assholes. Lions went from darlings to douchebags real quick. Dan Campbell's going to double down 5 too many times, and they're going to lose. That happened. I just said that. That happened. That's a thing.
You hate the Lions.
I do.
You know,
All of a sudden, after that Niners loss, you just totally just
Yeah. You know what? I don't care. I'll show my
What the fuck-
fandom on
what
this
happened
one.
in that game? I don't understand.
I'll
what
show my
happened.
fandom on this one because the Lions came out and they were
'Cause
talking shit to the Niners, saying,
Juwan Jennings is
saying-
fucking body slamming people and shit.
"Yeah, wow, that's fantastic." No, but the Lions came out and said, Lions were like, "Don't be scared, motherfucker!" Like, dude, half of our team is already home. Like, we're not even like here. And then they said, "Oh, this is us. This is us resurrecting, and we've rectified the loss from the NFC Championship." All right, you know what? It just like, all right, good, go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah,
I feel you on that.
go for it, assholes. Good for you. Good for you.
We do get a lot of pro Broncos comments. I'm just saying, so they're not agreeing with the panel, so maybe.
Who's the bigger homer, me or Pete? Pete's creeping up me hard. Pete's creeping up
Matt's
hard.
close. Matt's right there with you.
Matt is up there too, actually. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't
Matt's-
fight destiny, guys.
Matt's
you
with
can't.
us.
Yeah.
You didn't pick them. You didn't pick them.
Yeah,
Because
you,
that
Team of
will
Destiny beat the
manifest it.
Bucks. That's it. They're going to
Team of
Tampa. and winning
Destiny.
with the
Yeah. Woo.
Team of Destiny in Tampa. That's it.
Hey, coach, the Bears
right.
called. You haven't done anything in like 30 years or something.
Hey, I'm interviewing for the head coaching job. Everybody else is.
wait,
They're
you gotta knock
interviewing
on
like
the door.
20
You
dudes.
gotta knock on the
They
door.
got-
Yeah.
They're interviewing like 20 dudes.
You can walk in with a
Go for
binder,
it,
knock
man.
on the
I'd love
door.
to
All
see
right,
that.
I'll come in. All right, are we done here, or was this done?
Now
we
we can
done?
wrap up.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Anthony wants to wrap up. All right.
Anthony's hangry.
Yeah, Anthony's hanging.
I am. I do have to eat soon.
Wants to watch some soccer games and some
No
Dallas
soccer
Cowboys
tonight,
from
actually. No
91.
soccer tonight.
Oh,
Illinois
shit.
is rolling.
That's why you're
Illinois is
cranky.
rolling at half. Illinois, did you take them?
Yes.
Yeah, they're rolling at half.
All right. Wow. Good luck to everybody who took Illinois. Good luck to everybody who watched the show. 20 dudes and a one-day bet. The fuck was that now? What are you putting on the screen?
It was commented. I don't know.
20 dudes
Alfredo
and a
might have had
one-
a couple too many.
Alfredo, man. I don't want to know.
All right.
There are times where we say on this show, context is key. Alfredo, we don't want context. All right. So that's going to do it for today's show. Pete, you can hit the end stream button whenever you're ready. Until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.